Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today we're going to talk about Autumn Willow in the trek of making every possible EDH deck. So here we are, Autumn Willow. She's from Homelands, 4/4 for 6 mana. She was one of the first to have Shroud. She may have been the first alphabetically. I know there was Deadly Insect in the same set, but either way, um, she had Shroud. It's what's how that was worded back then before they keyworded it. And then she also has the beautiful ability of you can pay a green, that way you can target her, or well, target player can target her, which um, it typically will be you. I mean, I can't ever see a instance where I would want somebody else to target her because it's till end of turn. And anyway, so how to build Autumn Willow? I'm not exactly certain of her creature type. She's probably a human druid or a human cleric or just a human. I don't know. I'll have to research that. But I didn't do a tribal thing, obviously. I did Shroud. So I did Tribal Shroud. Now, as it turns out, there was not enough mono green Shroud to fill out a deck of creatures. So once I got used up all the Shroud I had, I went to Hexproof. So um, either way, here we go. So we'll start with the Shroud. Now, the aforementioned Deadly Insect is from the same set. Now, Autumn Willow alphabetically was first. I believe. I can't think of anything in like Ice Age Fallen or before that had that ability. But Deadly Insect, kind of cool. 6/1, very fragile. The first strike, the reason why I never played it back then was the first strike 1/1 killed it, or any first strike does. But I don't know. For the theme of the deck, we got Deadly Insect. Uh, we had not too long after that Blastoderm. Now, Blastoderm tilted the world uh, just because it was a 5/5. Now, granted, you typically only got 2 hits with it because of the fading. You put it on when it counter, and of course, it's sick, and then you smash face with it a couple times. Nowadays, we can like clock spin or stuff like that to add more counters on it, or lo and behold, doubling season would be awesome with. But anyway, Blastoderm. And the rest of these are in like no particular order. Of course, we got Gigapede, another 6/1 for 5. Uh, apparently, that was a theme there for a while. Now, Tempest had the cool one, the 3/1 for 3. I don't know what it was with this 1 toughness that they did. Uh, apparently, 1 toughness on Shroud was their standard go-to for a while. Um, Elvish Lookout, 1/1 for 1 with Shroud. So the algae thing, I've never been able to pronounce that word, so I'm not going to try now. And they finally keyworded it there. But the beautiful part here is it's when one of your creatures die, it does get bigger, so that's nice. Hawk Eater Moth, a flyer for 4. The problem with Shroud is that we're not going to have a whole lot of efficiency in mana versus power and toughness, just because that ability tends to get costed more. So, but the 1/1 Shroud here that's got the threshold, so it's a 3/3. So that's, I mean, EDH, we're probably going to have threshold at some point. I mean, we have Jolray Centaur. We have the Humble Badoka. Uh, Ventara Snapper. Now, one card that I absolutely loved was I I love the Future Sight frame. Always have. I really do. It's an amazing frame. It saddens me that we haven't seen it again, but maybe if we ever do another blast from the future, pretty much they wrote a bunch of checks they never have to cash, but it's cool. We have the Scythe Tiger, which, technically could be your first turn drop, if you just want to eat your forest. And then we have the Mist Leopard, just a 3/2 Shroud for 4. And then finally, we have, of course, the big daddy of all the Shrouds, the 7 mana 9/9 Shroud. Now, this, I like it. It's not overpowered, but yet I feel like it's not underpowered either. I mean, I couldn't imagine this costing 6 or 8, but it just shows you that creatures are way better now. So now we move on into Hexproof. And with Hexproof, I mean, we tend to have a little bit bigger dude. You know, the trample Hexproof here, 7 for 7/6. That wouldn't have been printed in Mirage. I mean, there's no way. The scaled behemoth, because that says crocodile, but that art looks dinosaurish. I realize there's probably a thin line there, but we have the plated slagworm. We have the primal hunt beast, rubbleback rhino, and I thought hard about the archetype here, but I almost didn't put it in. I was like, well, I ended up putting it in, but just because I needed the body. But my creatures are kind of already have hexproof, so I guess your Shroud guys can have Shroud and hexproof. What ifs. But the fact that it took it away from all the opponents, let's see if I can't clean this up a little bit. That was the selling point. I mean, yeah, it's 8 mana for 6/5. It's not exactly amazing. Lumberknot. Also, now I like Lumberknot a lot, even though it is a 4 mana 1/1, but it's a creature, not just yours. Things are going to die. That's just the nature of the game. So it gets bigger for playing the game. Now, Ledgewalker. I actually played a ton of this card in original Ravnica Elves back then. Of course, I was playing Biorhythm and Plague Wind, and that's nasty with mana elves. But anyway, I love the Ledgewalker. We have Witch Stalker, which here we are, 3 mana 3/3. So we are like right there where we need to be. Plus, we got the Hexproof. Plus, we got another spell that may or may not matter. Blue and black. That's, two pretty popular colors. So he's probably going to get some counters. And of course, Sacred Wolf. Here we go back with that 1 toughness again. But first and foremost, when you talk about Hexproof, Troll Ascetic was the first one. It was spelled out. This is a newer printing, and we all called it Troll Shroud because this was the only card to ever have it. And Troll Shroud was amazing, and it was around not too long before they keyworded it, maybe a couple years, into Hexproof, because people were playing Shroud like it was Hexproof, and that's why they invented Hexproof. And now they just about don't do Shroud anymore. It's all become Hexproof. That's why all those Shroud cards were pretty older. Now, as I said, they do cost a little more. We'll go through our massive card draw pile here, which is 2 cards, Harmonize and Explore. Of course, those are, just flat out mana for cards. Explore lets you ramp a little bit, if you got it. But speaking of ramp, though, like I said, most of our dudes are kind of on the expensive side. So we're using ramp, to put lands into play. I'm not using any of the really big ones. None of the 4 for 2s. But Nature's Lore. By the way, Nature's Lore is an amazing card if you are playing like OG duels or shock duels, because it just puts it into play. Because it's just got to be a forest. That's it. Of course, Cultivate, Rampant Growth, Harrow, and I am trying Natural Connection. I don't know. Y'all probably know this better than I do because all my decks kind of run together after a while. I don't think I've actually put this in another deck. We're talking Tribal Shroud here, so I didn't feel like I needed to dump a ton of high dollar cards in it. But Sylvian Caryatid, and then our 3 artifact rocks: the Mind Stone, the Moss Diamond, and of course Sisay's Ring. Now, The problem with everything having Shroud, or it's not everything having Shroud, most of it has Shroud or Hexproof. I that Blanchwood armor has actually seen some play, unsleeved play. But anyway, the problem is, all your Shroud creatures you can't target either. And Blanchwood armor is, I have no equipment in the deck because, Shroud. But Blanchwood armor, I can actually play on, I can spend the extra mana and put it on the general. So in a mono green deck, Blanchwood armor tends to be pretty decent. And also, if I've already got Autumn in play, I can pay that activation and letting me target her for the rest of the turn. That way, I can not only play the Blanchwood armor on her, but I can also Rogue's Passage her after that because it's still me targeting her. So that's that'll get you in there for a general win pretty quick. But you can't really. It's hard to pump up the other creatures unless you've got like a global type effect, a la Gaia's Anthem. So what I did was, of course, the Gaia's Anthem, Overcome, Overrun, Overwhelming Stand. People, they love the word over. Probably because Overrun was the first one and it was a little broken at uncommon. So, and then of course Vitalizing Wind. I figure if we're going to do all this ramping, we might as well have something to play after we play our dudes. So Vitalizing Wind, underappreciated card. 9 mana is a lot, but to Might Evokes your team, it's pretty good. Now, removal, I guess, is where we're going to go next. It's no secret that green hates flyers, and we don't have any. We got, what was that, 1 or 2 flyers? But Whirlwind, I think, does not see enough play. I mean, we have angels and demons and dragons and thopters and all the things that fly that just wreck. And Whirlwind kind of, it's a selective Wrath of God. In this deck, it's a one-sided Wrath. In theory, I mean, yeah, there's going to be some other stuff that don't fly, but it's and then spot fly removal in Plummet. Now, I am using the Desert Twister. It is super high casting cost at 6, but it was the first. I mean, this is where they got the idea from Vindicate from, and just slashed it in half, made it 2 colors, and now green doesn't really do this anymore. We have Larry Nevin's disc for the reset button. Things, for the fire sale, everything must go. Yeah, I'm that guy because this deck I feel like needs all the help it can get, and if the blue player knows that everything, it doesn't take too long, even if you don't announce, hey, I'm playing Tribal Shroud or Tribal Hexproof. Even then, after a couple of creature drops, they kind of get it. Oh, look, I'll not be able to target any of his stuff. I'm just going to counter all his big stuff. But hence the tsunami. Naturalize, of course, good utility, as well as Creeping Mold. Now, Chain of Acid I really like because it's one of those things that if you're going to cast in this deck, Chain of Acid, I will probably keep this. If they bounce it back at me, if they chain it back at me, I will always chain it back at them. Because let's face it, there's not a whole lot of super ball and stuff in here, and whatever I'm destroying of theirs is going to be mean way more than them destroying something random of mine. Now, granted, yes, you can hit lands and they can nerf your lands, but in that scenario, I doubt we're casting it anyway. We have Natural Obsolescence for those indestructible things because Darksteel Forge is a real thing. It's a real problem for green anyway. And this way, you just kind of tuck it and go on about your day. Crumble. It's going to pop an artifact. Now, Lead the Stampede this is probably the most creature-like deck I've ever put Lead the Stampede in, simply because if you're casting Lead the Stampede, you're wanting dudes, and you're wanting dudes in a hardcore way. So, but this, I figure you're looking at 5, you're going to get 1 to 2. Even then, it's still kind of card draw. Now, Reclaimed is my regrowth variant. Regrowth being in Masters 25 at Uncommon, thank goodness that's going to drop that price, so I just haven't picked up a bunch of those yet. But Reclaim is instant. You do it at the end of the turn, right before yours, and you just put it on top of your deck. It does cost you the draw. Technically 2 draws because you had to draw Reclaim. But either way, that's the price you pay for the 1 mana instant. Now, Forgotten Lore is another kind of version. Planar Chaos did a black shifted one of these, but you can get back what you want, provided you have enough mana, or you only have that 1 card in your graveyard. So now Trank also does not get a lot of love, and I'm not packing a whole lot of enchantments in here. Most notably, Primal Order, because Primal Order just wins games. Let me see if I can't clean this up, because this is definitely one to read. Yeah, a damage per non-basic lands, and I mean, I have decks that just about don't have basics in them. I got like 1 or 2 of each just in case somebody pass it, and that way I don't fail to find. But Primal Order, great card, probably one of the better cards from Homelands, and that's more the reason why it's in here, because I wanted to use as many Homelands cards as possible. What is that? 3? Autumn Willow, Deadly Insect, and nope. I'm sorry, Deadly Insect was in Alliances. That's right. I said it was from Homelands earlier. So we got 2. But as far as being able to work 2 Homelands cards in a deck, that's probably win. Those are probably the only 2 playable green cards that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm probably wrong. There's other cards, I'm sure. But Primal Order, it's amazing. Wins games. Now, good old Fog. It's going to just, buy us a turn. Hopefully it buys us the critical turn. That way we can eliminate them on the crackback. Now, Stormseeker is also because there's always, every table's got that one guy that's like, I'm just here to draw cards. Actually, generally that's me. But anyway, you brainstorm for how much? Yeah, let's stick this knife in your field there, and what that has to do with damage for cards at hand, I don't know, but I guess that was a hard thing to visualize back then. And of course, our last card is Shield of the Ages. I mean, as I said, we don't have a lot of artifacts, but Shield of the Ages pretty decent. We've got some ramp. We're going to have probably a few more land than normal, and just the ability to have this come out, it's good early, it's good late. You can, if nothing else, just reduce damage done to you. It also prevents a whole lot of shenanigans as far as things that trigger on damage. If you've got enough mana to prevent the damage, a lot of times the damage is not what you fear the most, it's what happens after the damage. Like, if there's a Yidris, and you can block most of it, but you don't want that 1 point of damage trampling over, you can prevent it. That way, that cascade trigger doesn't pop in. So, anyway, that is what I have got for Autumn Willow. She's always been a personal favorite of mine from Ulgrotha. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, I think we're going to shuffle and cut.